there's healing energy available this week. And so when we think about the concept of healing, there's got to be a sort of prerequisite that comes with that, right? Which would mean that in order to bring about healing, there's something that needs to be healed. And we could talk about healing from a physical perspective, from a bodily perspective, healing illness or sickness, for sure. But the healing available in this week goes beyond just health. It's healing any aspect of space that exists within us that is between where we currently are in terms of our thoughts, words, and actions, and the truth. The truth, which is connectivity, which is unity, which is oneness. And I'm feeling it tremendously in this week, to be honest with you. In addition to this healing energy being available this week, we're astrologically in a period that started technically yesterday, June 29th, 2026, and that goes through July 23rd, 2026. It's a period that's embedded with this absolutely strong energy. It's effectively light that's coming down directly to us without as much of a filter that would normally be there to protect ourselves from the strength of that light. And that light is creating this energy of anxiety, of feeling like things are moving quickly, this energy of overwhelm, right? So with all of that, naturally comes an opportunity to transcend it, to rise above it. And this, in this particular week, is the opportunity to heal. The opportunity to heal. So what does that look like practically? I'll tell you that for me, over the past several days, there have been a number of signs that have appeared, whether it be through podcasts that I was listening to, or podcast suggestions that had come up that I started listening to, through conversations with people. And I've been aware of them. And all of these things have pointed back for me to these subtle little areas in my life, whether in business, whether related to my spiritual work and spiritual study, whether relating to my marriage or things going on at home with our family. Subtle little issues where I am running an unconscious program that's based upon routine, or just what it's always been, or sort of the way that it's always gone. And with getting these signs and listening to these various things, having these conversations, what I'm seeing is that when I dig deeply into these programs, I'm seeing that in some cases, what's driving my behaviors, my actions, and my routine is actually fear. And I'll give you a real-time example relating to to business, right? I started a new business last year, which I feel has a tremendous opportunity to make a significant impact in the world. And I'm the type of person that gets super excited about the embryonic stage, the creation stage, the coming together of the vision and drawing that vision down from above and starting to put the pieces together to make that vision a reality, to manifest it, to speak of it, to brand it. I love that process. And right now where we are is we're well past that process in the business. Of course, there are still creative elements that are involved in the day-to-day and constant ideation, creation. But at this point, we've gotten to a place where we actually have clients. There's a product. Commercialization is underway. And so there's a lot of tweaking and massaging the messaging, the product, right? It's much more of, I guess, what I would consider a grind than the embryonic stage, which to me feels a lot more free-flowing, creative, really beautiful, right? And one of the messages this week that has been coming to me is that in this process of really massaging the product and the message and going back and forth, speaking to the market and to prospects, pitching, and then taking the feedback that I've received and then coming back into the lab, so to speak, or the office and working with the team to massage based on that feedback, I've realized that I've almost gotten into a sort of unconscious loop of taking feedback, going back into the office or the lab, tweaking based on that feedback, and it's become reactive to the point where almost every conversation that I'm having in the marketplace is prompting me to come back and initiate a product tweak or a messaging tweak and go back and dig and dig. And in the one hand, this is healthy, right? Tweaking based on the market and listening to the market and adapting. But when it comes to a point where the tweaking and the massaging is actually, and this is the deep nuance, is actually coming from a place of fear and lack and reactivity, that's when we need to truly examine it and change the behavior. And what do I mean by coming from a place of fear or reactivity? When I look at my process that I just described in this situation, what I notice is, first of all, there's not enough space in between the feedback that I'm receiving to the initiation of this tweaking process and the sharpening of the messaging, the sharpening of the product. It's almost immediate, right? Where it's receive the feedback and get to work and start tweaking and go and tweak, almost incessantly until it becomes something that feels good. And this is all about intention, and this comes back to healing. So what are we healing? Why have I found myself going into a almost reactive, automatic, sort of robotic state of tweaking the second that I get a message? Because when I look deep within, it's actually coming from a place of fear and from a place of wanting to close the gap of uncertainty. What am I trying to do? I want to create a better product. I want to message that product better. And my feeling is that by doing it based on each piece of feedback, as soon as it's received, it's enabling us to get to a place where we can sell more, where the business will grow more quickly, where this uncertainty of will this vision ultimately manifest as the success that I see it could manifest as, and especially saw it when I started it, I'm trying to close that gap and doing it from a place, if I'm being honest, deeply. And it's, again, you wouldn't see it from the outside, but this is based on this examination and this desire to truly find these areas in this week and to heal them, to examine where they're coming from reactivity, and to say, no, in this week in particular, I am going to change the program. So what is one proactive thing that I've committed to doing in this week? To slowing down the process. Once I receive feedback or have a conversation, pause. Restrict immediately going into the tweaking and the managing and the figuring out after within seconds or minutes after each conversation. Create some space. Allow the feedback to actually process. And instead of me manufacturing the tweak in the next step, listen and be guided by the light rather than me feeling like it's my time to go in and to tweak and to enable the progress in the business. Right? This is a real-time example of my work in this week and how I'm applying specifically the study that I've been engaged with this week to become more aware of what needs to be healed. Where is the subtle, and it's typically the subtle things, the things that are running on autopilot, the things that we know deep down are reactive and impulsive, but we've become so used to it, and not only used to it, it's almost gotten to a place where we feel good. We derive pleasure from this feedback loop, right? So I get the feedback. I come back into the lab. I tweak. I feel like I've generated success once I've tweaked and feel like I've made some sort of incremental improvement, right? This becomes a feedback loop that my consciousness is now addicted to, right? But the issue is not the process. The issue is the intention. And so that's what we're looking to heal in this week. We're looking at where are we automatically resorting to reactivity, and it's not likely going to be surface level. It's going to be something we know and we feel, but we really have to dig for and be aware of in this week. And how can we put a change to that program? How can we create space such that we're no longer being driven by that reactivity? We're coming from a place of equanimity, of wholeness, of fullness, and addressing the opportunity from that place. That is, as I study it, as I feel it in this moment, that is the process that I'm working through. It's the process of healing for this week. And so I hope that the example resonates with you and that it brings up something in your life where you're seeing a similar opportunity to identify the reactivity and to change the narrative, to go with what you know is the true path inside of you, but it's just comfortable. It's been comfortable to let it ride the other way. This is the week to change the pattern, to heal, to identify the subtleties of the ego and to heal. I'll see you next week.